Hello, welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. One of the first comic books I really got into when I inherited my brother's collection at probably far too young an age was The Demon by Jack Kirby, featuring the main character was Jason Blood. He had been a knight back in the days of King Arthur, and to stop a demon from rampaging the land, Merlin had bound this demon to Jason Blood. Jason Blood was able to call upon it by incanting a phrase and allowed the demon Etrigan to come out and operate in the cause of good and justice. He often teamed up with superheroes and was one of the big hitters, actually, in the early DC lineup. So influential was this on me, I can still recite the incantation to this day. Change, change, O form of man. Release the prince forever damned. Release the might from fleshy mire. Boil the blood in heart of fire. Gone, gone, O form of man, and rise the demon Etrigan. It was also one of the first sets of comic books that my father disposed of, informing me that demons were the servants of the devil, and I couldn't read those kinds of books. Maybe a little too late. It's funny, he threw away all the copies of the Demon, but completely missed all the copies of Ghost Rider. He was probably just reading the covers and or maybe just the titles. Demons I didn't have much influence of that concept in my life. It wasn't something that was brought up in Sunday school a lot or church. They're mostly talking about the devil and not demons in and of themselves until it came about the same time I got involved in Dungeons & Dragons and encountered demons there as a form of opposition, and I read the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis and got a double dose of demons, two entirely different varieties. In Dungeons & Dragons, demons were these red-skinned infernal humanoids, horns, claws, beings of evil and infernal intent and combat, and they were rough to come into. They were opposition for deep in the dungeons, or if you delved off plane or went into the hells and had to fight something, demons were absolutely a rough fight. The Screwtape Letters was another animal entirely. Written to the London Times by C.S. Lewis back around World War II. And they were misunderstood and caused a lot of his books to actually be burned in England at the time, which is a great pity. But the Screwtape Letters were letters from a chief tempter in hell, Screwtape, to his nephew Wormwood on Earth, who was in charge of tempting a British gentleman away from the path of good and to a sinful end. And it was an amazing treatise on temptation and sin, the nature of sin, and what constituted temptation and distraction from heavenly goals. Since then, I have come to look at these two extremes of demons as a spectrum. From the concept of the red-skinned humanoid combat monster opposition, usually wielding some kind of improbable wavy weapon covered in flames, to the quiet, whispering voice at the edge of your consciousness trying to convince you to do just the wrong thing by ever so tiny stages. if you look at the theology behind at least the Judeo-Christian model of demons, fallen angels, angels who turned away from the will of God the Father and fell along with the first fallen angel, Lucifer, Satan, the devil, insert any of 100 different names here, and who dwell in sin with him and work to enact acts and concepts against the will of God. And that concept was captured really amazingly well in the role-playing game Innomine, perhaps too well, where you see the angelic hosts and the demonic hordes as almost warped mirrors of one another. Demons form tremendous opposition, and using a number of different demons from a number of different points along the spectrum, different types of demons. Yeah, you can really sideline some heroes with some powerful, combat-oriented, red-skinned, cloven-hooved humanoids intent on doing them harm and freeing their souls early towards a bad end. But you can also enact a tremendous amount of stress and disunity in a role-playing group with those little whispers of temptation and suggestion and just ever so slightly nudging things off true until they suddenly look entirely wrong. Historically, while we do not have any credible accounts of actual demons showing up, there have been numerous events of demonic possession, incidents where people appeared to be possessed by a supernatural entity beyond their ability to control, to the extent that certain large organizations of faith-based individuals have structured processes for exorcising demons from people. You won't hear a lot about it in their modern church bodies, but the history is really clear. Starting with some accounts in the Bible of demonic exorcism. Looking back on those particular events through the eyes of modern sensibilities and a more reasoning scientific approach, a lot of those particular events can be put down to incidents of epilepsy or severe schizophrenia, multiphasic personality disorder. We can determine that a lot of actual mental illness or even physical illness was involved in these events. To the point where, to this day, even in our modern reasoning society, those influences and those events lead us to a cultural concept, at least here in the West, that we all have our demons to face. Not that we believe necessarily that there are supernatural beings fallen from heaven and bent to our eternal damnation living inside of us, or external to us and attempting to influence us by altering our decision-making processes or introducing extra information. No, our demons are recognizable by other names in this day and age. Anxiety, depression, fear, hatred, anger, prejudice, bigotry. We don't all have all of these demons, but everyone certainly has some measure of their own demons. And these are not just imaginary things fluttering through our consciousness. These are often brain-based. Our neurology gets off balance, or at least far enough off balance from the average social functioning consciousness that it is notable. Environmental factors or genetic factors or trauma, both psychological and physical, can alter how our brain works. Our brains are really super complex and surprisingly delicate. It doesn't take a lot to knock things a degree or two off of true, and then we are in trouble. And we all have our own demons to wrestle. Implies that we are in charge of fighting them, and we kind of are. My demons come in groups. Oftentimes, demons come in groups. They are entirely different demons than the ones I faced in my youth. And sometimes they kind of win. You may have noticed it has been a while since I have posted. Over a month, if I am calculating correctly. And sometimes depression, anxiety, fear, and a crushing lack of motivation gang up and kick me in the bottom of the brain until I can't do much. There are a lot of things that have set my neurological balance off by more than a couple of degrees. This year's seasonal affective disorder was really, really bad. So I sank into a depression that I've got very, very good friends and people who love me who did not let me dwell in it. I got crushing anxiety about my Patreon account and restructured that entirely, and that has led to a great deal of anxiety about attempting something else and really, really hoping I don't fail. And all of that leads to a lot of sitting and pretending to be furniture. Not that that's what I've been doing, but oh God, it has been so tempting. Now, if you have your own demons, and you do, in some way, shape, or form, it's pretty presumptuous of me, but I'm pretty sure that everyone has some form of something that they need to combat if they are going to continue on the path that they want to get to, or want to be following. And again, these are very real things. These are not imagination, and if you are suffering from clinical depression, you cannot just sit back and decide to be happy, as some people might suggest. The people who might suggest that really don't know anything about the process and may have had a good personal experience with that technique, and they haven't suffered from clinical depression, I can tell you that. Don't face your demons alone. The National Institute of Mental Health is a good resource. I will try and put a link up, hopefully about here, or in the description as well. If you are looking for assistance, you could do worse than to hit that place up and see if they can lead you to more local assistance. Talk to friends. Get some people around you, some people that you can talk to and talk about your demons. Let them out, have a look at them, and see if you can tackle them singly or as a group, because fighting demons is important. have a process that I use, which I've been using, and I call it the Yojimbo cycle. Yojimbo is one of my favorite movies. In fact, Yojimbo is several of my favorite movies. The classic samurai film by Akira Kurosawa is so core strong in its plot and its structure that it has been remade a number of times. Fistful of Dollars, Last Man Standing, Omega Doom, a few others, which would be a really great afternoon of movie watching, just to sit through 5 or so different versions of Yojimbo. But the plot is the same. Our hero comes into town. Hero. They are not apparently a good person. They are in possession of a set of skills which many people find distasteful, as they are often based around violence and performing violence very well. In this town, there are 2 crime families, one based on either side. Each has control of a different criminal racket, but they would both like to have the entire pie in their hands. Our hero sees profit in the situation and begins to play one side against the other, using those incredible skills in order to get larger and larger payouts. But there is an innocent victim caught in the middle of this, and we find out that our hero is in fact on the inside a good person, as they cannot stand to see this person who is stuck in the middle there. So our hero overreaches and gets this person out of trouble, but this overreach costs them, and one of the crime families, a group of true villains, captures our hero and beats them and breaks them down, to the point where our hero is forced to escape right next to dead in a coffin, being carried away by the friendly coffin maker. While the hero is away, however, they are not merely away. They are pushing themselves. Having been broken physically and mentally and almost destroyed, they are rebuilding that set of skills. They are pushing themselves, not only trying to heal from their injuries, but push themselves beyond their previous levels of performance, learning new techniques, new tricks, new tactics, new advantages. So, when the villains have conquered the entire town and are riding roughshod over every last innocent person remaining in it, there is an explosion. And out of the dust steps the hero. And the villains are pretty sure they've got this covered. They destroyed this hero once before. They'll just finish the job now. But that is not the same person that they destroyed before. And the hero sees to it that the friendly coffin maker has plenty of work by enacting his newly found levels of skills of violence, and removes the villains from play permanently. I got my ass kicked pretty good. Depression, anxiety, just this pile of demons on top of me. I had to go away for a little while, you may have noticed. But now there's an explosion, and now the dust is settling, and I am ready to face these demons pretty fully once again. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's another one of my demons, and I'll just have to deal with it as it comes along. One more time. If you are suffering from your own demons and do not see a way out of that combat, if you do not see a way to win, if you do not see a way to keep moving on, visit someone. Visit the National Institute of Mental Health. Talk to someone. See if there are probably free counseling services available to you. Reach out. See if there's someone who can help. Get your friends or your acquaintances. Get help. And as for me and my future, well, we'll just have to see. I'm going to try and do these once a week again. I'd like to get these out once a week again. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and had this in my head and wanted to soak, and I couldn't go out to the hot tub because it was too early to turn the hot tub on. And then people with leaf blowers started up, and I'm like, hey, if they can start up. Thank you for following along on this particular journey through Demons in Yojimbo and where I am at. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If you have your own demons or your own experience with your fight with them, if you have experience with demons in role-playing games, or you like the Yojimbo movies, if there's any topics you'd like to hear me talk on, or subjects you'd like me to cover, leave me a comment below. I will love receiving your comment. You will love leaving me one. If you have not subscribed to my videos yet, why not? My videos are awesome. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you do, make sure you hit the little notification bell so you're alerted when my videos become available. If you would like to help the channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me up on my Patreon page, www.patreon.com, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps, allows me to make better videos more often. I spent a little while revamping how it operates. It should be a little bit friendlier to deal with now. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I am Scott Corum. This is What Has Mattered to Me, and I will see you next time, hopefully much sooner, on the next Matters of DeCorum.